I'm not happy.
I don't need Elizabeth Warren or the government giving away my money.
Calling Mike Bloomberg an oligarch has implications in this country that I think are unfair and unreasonable.
I care. That's it.
It makes you think of some rich person who got their money off of oil in Russia, who's taking advantage of a broken and dysfunctional system.
Bernie Sanders saying, the country's corrupt, our system's corrupt. Be careful about that language, Bernie. You know, be careful.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
Who's got a hammer?
The nation, Waldorf Nation, everybody, welcome to the show. It is, it is Tuesday. Today's the day. Hello, somebody. We got an important election in Ohio's 11th district. Nina Turner versus Chantel Brown. I'm on pins and needles, folks. This is a gigantic race. I mean, you've got Hillary Clinton. You got Jim Clyburn involved. You got big money. You got big corporations. You got gigantic like Republican PACs that are giving money to Chantel Brown. Yes, Republicans giving money. A Democratic pro-Israel PAC as well. That's incredibly conservative. They're giving money to Chantel Brown. And of course, you have the people and Nina Turner. On the other side, Brother Cornel West, Bernie Sanders. I mean, weirdly enough, Bakari Sellers. I didn't think so. Hey, you know what? We'll take what we can get. All right. That was a surprise to me. But you have a lot of support for Nina Turner. This is a big day. This is a big day. So, we're going to see whether or not we can send Nina Turner to Congress, or I should say Ohio sends Nina Turner to Congress so she can join and bolster the ranks of the progressives who are deeply, deeply, deeply outnumbered. And so, oh boy, I am very concerned. Also, by the way, for my Twitch followers, I uploaded some emojis, some emotes. I'm not sure how you use them, and so I don't know how they work, but they are there. And so one of these days I'm going to figure out how people can use them. Right now I've only got a couple of up. Oh, there we go. We got please clap, and we got tighten up our meat. So let me just show you those. That's fun. It's fun. I'm not very good at making them, but it's fun. So,
Please clap.
And of course,
Tighten up my meat. I like my meat tight.
I'm going to work on more. I got creative this morning. Fun times. So, yes, I have plans to do more. Maybe me with laser eyes once I figure that out, which was always fun. But yeah, I'm going to try to make some more emotes for y'all. Just to make it a little bit more fun on Twitch. Already I can see you all having some fun, which is great. I love it. So, once again,
Please clap.
I actually did something today. So, hey, if you want to follow us on Twitch, of course, it's twitch.tv/Jeff Waldorf. And you can sub. You can give us a Bezos bucks. Doesn't cost you anything, but it helps revenue for the show. We've had an amazing spurt of growth here on Twitch as well. Thank you, Kathleen, for subscribing for a month at Tier 1. I really appreciate that. So, oh, we got a storm out there. So if we suddenly, if the stream cuts out, either I've been hacked by the CIA, or a storm knocked out the power, which is actually incredibly rare. We live in a place with pretty good electrical infrastructure. So, but hey, just giving you a warning. So, or hacked by a tornado. Let's hope not. All right, so again, for everybody watching, please like and share the stream. Very important that you do so. Helps us out. We are, of course, being. I would say that we are being suppressed by YouTube, and we're not the only one, of course. There's a ton of lefty independent channels that are being suppressed by YouTube. Views are just horrible. So if you could, please give us a share and a like and all that wonderful stuff. All right. Anyway, that said, we've got some pretty significant hard stories today. So, you know, we're going to be talking about a story that came out that explains why the Democrats, and you all probably already know why, but I'm going to get into the details, why the Democrats let the eviction moratorium expire. We've got, of course, the Cuomo allegations, Letitia James report. We've got My Pillow Guy, of course, for a little bit of fun. Yes, I know, fun. And then we're going to go talk about the games industry. Blizzard, we've got some updates on him as well. Or on them as well. And what's going on with the... what's going on at Activision Blizzard. So, anyway... that's the rundown that we have today. Let's dive in. Because these are pretty in-depth things. Pretty in-depth stories. All right. You might have noticed there's a lot of blame going around for allowing 7 million Americans to be evicted from their homes. You have of course, you have the president that's blaming Congress. You've got Congress that was blaming the CDC. You got the CDC blaming the Supreme Court. And some have even resorted to blaming Nina Turner and Susan Sarandon for some odd reason. By the way, voting in that election is going on right now. Hello, somebody. So, now the reason for all this blame is, well, obviously, it's a disaster to let 7 million people lose their homes as a result of this pandemic. And so it's an absolute disaster. And you're not going to be surprised, though, that, again, the way that this went down is you had Congress, you had everybody saying at the last moment, oh, my God, I don't know what's going on. Oh, how could we let this happen? Well, as Andrew Perez explains in a piece for the Daily Poster, and I'm going to put the link in the description because it's an excellent piece. Last week, President Biden's administration belatedly called on Democrats in Congress to pass legislation to extend the CDC's eviction ban only days before it was set to expire on July 31st. A full month after the Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh wrote that the moratorium would have to be extended by legislation. Now, the CDC, of course, could already do that. It would be they could put out do another extension, which would immediately get challenged and invalidated by the court. But until that, they might be able to tie up the courts long enough for people to at least get some of the money, get some of the reprieve. They didn't do that, of course. Now, Perez writes, the late request by Biden's press secretary Jen Psaki seemed to catch Democratic lawmakers off guard as they were getting ready to enjoy a long summer recess. House Democrats have quickly passed legislation extending the moratorium by unanimous consent, a maneuver that Republicans blocked Afterwards, the House adjourned and lawmakers started streaming out of town. House Speaker Pelosi said last Friday that Democratic leaders had only learned 1 day earlier that the Biden administration was counting on lawmakers to renew the eviction ban via legislation. However, she had claimed the next day that her colleagues had led a relentless campaign to extend the moratorium, blaming Republicans for its failure. On Monday, Pelosi sent a letter to Democratic lawmakers arguing the moratorium must be extended by the administration. So now, breaking news, of course, on that, the President Biden has now put out a press release saying that, oh yeah, we're definitely looking into that, but provided little to no details on what they're actually going to do. So now on Pelosi, we didn't know is a pretty bad excuse. Oh, we didn't know. You didn't know. You didn't know. Oh, really, really? About something that's going to impact millions of people. You didn't know. Not buying it. Not buying it. I mean, look, I think that they knew. They obviously knew. But they didn't do anything about it until people started making a stink. Progressives, for example, Cori Bush. Cori Bush has been sitting outside in the Capitol, sleeping outside for like 4 days. That got a little bit of attention to it and embarrassed the hell out of Republicans. I'm sorry, that's a Freudian slip. Scared the hell out of the Democrats. But still, as a result of all of this bumbling, you still have millions of people that are losing their homes. And in case you're wondering, why didn't these people just pay their rent? I mean, we gave them millions of dollars. Well, you can't exactly spend money that hasn't gotten to you yet. Turns out there are billions of dollars still being held up by state legislators that should have gone to renters, but didn't. They haven't dispersed the funding. By the end of July, they actually only dispersed about $3 billion of the $25 billion. That's the first tranche of money. In fact, there's another $20 billion that actually hasn't gone to the states yet. And so, well, it's because they haven't spent the first amount of money. So all of this supposed help hasn't actually arrived at all. And in some cases, by the way, when help has arrived, there are some landlords that actually refused federal assistance, opting to instead wait for the eviction moratorium to end so they can kick people out. And of course, there are other places where, yeah, the eviction moratorium was technically on the books and they didn't follow it anyway. I got one example. Antoinette Ellaby, 42 of Miami, she expects an eviction order within 2 to 3 weeks because her landlord refused to let the government cover her $5,000 in back rent. She now has to send her 5 children to live with her mother in another county. She said, quote, "My main concern is now that I have an eviction, how will I find another place to live? Some places will accept you and some will not." So said Ellaby, whose entire family got COVID-19 earlier this year. And the reason that I put that in that context is because some people who get COVID or who are, gotten COVID, that's why they lost their jobs. They had to quarantine. You lose your job when you have to quarantine. And then, of course, you can't get another job because everything's closed. And you ended up getting all this, amassing all of this debt, all of this back rent. That's disastrous. So people are in this situation, most of them for just, through no fault of their own. Perez continues. Soon after this, the Biden administration indicated in a statement that it would keep trying to tackle the issue, noting that it's directing federal agencies to re-examine whether there are any other authorities to take additional actions to stop evictions. In the meantime, the president will continue to do everything in his power to help renters from eviction, noted the statement. The release did not explain why the White House waited to act until after the moratorium expired. Well, now, with all that context, we get to why. Why? It turns out House Democrats' super PAC took in millions of dollars, including one from a chairman of a massive apartment rental company back in June. So now let me give you details on that. It turns out that residential real estate interests that could benefit the moratorium expiring have been giving a lot of money. This is according to Sarah Micklebust, bargaining for the Common and Good Research Director at Georgetown University's Initiative for Labor and the Working Poor. Quote, I've been looking at real estate, housing, and landlords for about 15 years, and this feels like an extension of what I've seen at the state and local levels. You certainly see a pattern of landlords having closer relationships as a result of money and influence, and that can affect the way lawmakers see these issues, the questions they ask, and the timelines on which they're willing to take action or not. She added, it's not shocking because we have seen this pattern again and again. What is shocking is that millions of people are at risk of not just becoming homeless, but also getting a deadly disease, the Delta variant, of course. So let's get to that donor. The donor that gave $1 million is George Marcus, chairman of both the massive real estate brokerage Marcus in Millichap and the real estate investment trust Essex Property Trust. He donated $1 million on June 1st at the House Majority PAC, a super PAC that works to elect Democrats. The donation amounted to nearly 7% of the total funding the committee has raised so far this year. Marcus himself also donated $263,400 in June to a joint fundraising committee benefiting House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's campaign, her leadership PAC, and the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee. During the 2020 election cycle, Marcus donated a combined $1 million to the DCCC and the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee, which elects Democratic Senate candidates. He contributed millions more to the party-aligned super PACs that aid those committees, $3.5 million to Senate Majority PAC and $3 million to the House Majority PAC. Marcus, who has a net worth of $1.7 billion, has also been a huge Biden supporter, donating $4 million to super PACs that supported Biden, Priorities USA, Unite the Country, and American Bridge PAC. He also hosted a Biden fundraiser back in 2019 and donated $500,000 to the Biden Victory Fund, a joint fundraising committee benefiting the Biden campaign, the DNC, and state parties. Marcus in Millichap is also the largest, which was founded in 1971, is the largest commercial real estate brokerage in North America and sells apartment buildings. While Marcus is part of a group of billionaire landlords that have together seen their personal fortunes increase by nearly $25 billion since last March, Marcus in Millichap has been hit hard by the pandemic. Because, of course, the eviction moratorium. Marcus also chairs and founded Essex Property Trust and controls a 3% stake in the company, according to Forbes. As of last year, Essex Property Trust had an ownership interest in 60,272 apartment units in California and Washington state, according to company disclosures. Over the last two election cycles, Essex Property Trust donated $23.5 million to committees that opposed ballot initiatives that would have allowed rent control measures in California. In the latest quarterly report, Essex Property Trust wrote that primarily as a result of the pandemic, its cash delinquency rate was higher than pre-pandemic periods, but improved from 4.3% for 3 months, ended June 30th, 2020, to 2.6% for the first 3 months, ended June 30, 2021. The company said that it has executed payment plans and will continue to work with the residents to collect cash delinquencies. And in an earnings call last week, Essex Property Trust CEO Michael Shaw said that the company expects its delinquency rate will return to normal levels over time as more workers enter the workforce and eviction protections lapse on September 30th in both California and Washington. When asked about the expiring federal moratorium, Shaw said that we, quote, we expect to work with our residents to the extent that we can. Interesting. So there's Marcus and his connections, and of course the donations, and he is by far the only Democratic donor that stands to gain from the eviction moratorium expiring during the 2020 election cycle. Executives from the Blackstone Group, the private equity giant, donated $2.3 million to Senate Majority PAC, $250,000 to House Majority PAC, and $350,000 to Unite the Country, the pro-Biden super PAC. Blackstone has also been snapping up a lot of homes with cash, by the way, in order to turn them into rental properties. Not only that, but in June, Blackstone announced that it was buying Home Partners of America, a single-family home rental business that's related to that owns more than 17,000 homes. Blackstone also became a minority investor last year in Tricon Residential, which owns more than 30,000 single-family and multifamily rental homes in the United States and Canada. Lobbyists for real estate interests have also been flooding Democrats with money. The lobbying firm Brownstone Hyatt Farber Schreck has bundled $227,550 worth of donations to the DSCC. Brownstein's lobbying clients include Apollo Global Management and Ares Management, two private equity firms with substantial real estate interests. There's more. Aiken Gump Strauss Hauer and Feld and its lobbyists bundled $336,500 for the DSCC this year. That firm lobbies for Koch Industries. We know, of course, that's headed by Charles Koch, that has been investing in residential real estate, specifically single-family rental homes during the pandemic. Again, they're buying up all these homes, they're driving up home prices, and turning everyone into essentially renters. Another Aiken Gump client, the National Association of Realtors, lobbied to end the CDC's eviction ban. The firm also lobbies for KKR, a private equity giant with significant investments in luxury apartments. So there's more. There's Heather Podesta. She is also involved. She raised $177,000 for the DSCC, $114,000 for the DCCC, and is the founder and CEO of Invariant LLC, which lobbies for the National Association of Realtors, and NAREIT, the National Association of Real Estate Investment Trusts. And of course, finally, Steve Elmendorf, a partner at Subject Matter, raised $62,000 to the DCCC this year. His clients include Blackstone and the American Investment Council, a lobbying group for private equity. The National Realtors Association PAC has separately bundled $114,500 worth of donations for conservative Democrat Joe Manchin of West Virginia this year. So yeah, all of this is connected. Okay. And yet, for some reason, Nancy Pelosi really wants to blame Republicans for this. You know, for doing the unanimous vote, the unanimous consent vote, which, by the way, only takes one Republican to, take it down. And so one might wonder, why would you do that? Why would you do unanimous consent when you know Republicans are bad? Well, it's so you can cover your tracks and say, oh, look, I tried to vote, but Republicans. She knew this was going to fail. There's no way she's dumb enough to think that Republicans actually care about the unhoused. They don't. And so, at the end of the day, this one is not on the Republicans. I mean, yes, of course, Republicans are terrible. They did vote against this. They're always going to vote against this. They would love nothing more than poor people to die. But we know that. And if we know that, because it's obvious, then so do the Democrats. But at the end of the day, understand that corporate Democrats, see, this isn't a right or left issue. This is top versus bottom. All that money went to conservative Democrats, Joe Manchin, Kirsten Sinema, John Tester, etc. What happened was money in politics. What happens was class solidarity with the big donors and corporations. That's what happened. This is not an accident. It's not an oversight. It's not a oopsie poopsie, I forgot. No, it's we got money from the donors and we let this entire thing expire. And now we're going to pretend that, we're going to pretend to care while not doing anything, but then set up attack ads against Republicans. You know that that's what they're going to do. The only people that are actually fighting are the people that are outside, people like Cori Bush. If you're in the DC area, please join that protest. The more people you have, the better. Right now, understand that if you're mad at progressive lawmakers, if you're mad at AOC, Cori Bush, etc., I get it, right? Understand, but they're not the problem. Understand that they don't have the legislative power to get a moratorium back in place. They don't. It's so much easier to block something from getting done than to actually get something done. That's how our system works. Our system is set up to where it is so much easier to stop something from getting passed than actually getting something passed, than actually doing something. That's why it only takes one person to stop it, or a couple of people to stop it. And so that's the thing. Progressives don't have the power. They don't have the numbers. But what we do have something. We have public outrage and we have shame. The only thing that we have right now is to get enough attention, to get enough people protesting outside the Capitol, to shame the Democrats into doing something. Because, and look, understand that if that's our only option right now as regular people to join that protest, then, I mean, that's our only option, and we should exercise it to make sure that we help the millions that are suffering right now. Shame them into doing the right thing. Otherwise, they're not going to do the right thing. All right. Do I have something that's going on here? I don't know. One person's complaining about the mic rubbing, but nobody else has. So I'm kind of curious about that. I don't know what's going on here. All right, moving on. No, progressives don't have the numbers. They really don't. Corporate Democrats have the numbers. That's the problem. You can't shame these people that have those conscience. It's not about conscience. It's about wanting to win re-election. That's what it's about. They can cut as many attack ads against Republicans as they want. But people are smarter than that. A lot of voters are going to be a lot smarter than that and say, no, this happened under Biden's watch. This is Biden, this is Congress. Remember, the American people know Congress sucks. That's why it has a 13% approval rating. So yeah, they're of course going to blame Congress. That's how you can shame them into action, because they do care about the re-elections. No, again, you guys like, oh, they have no shame, they have no shame. Yes, but they want to win. They want to win. And that's the thing. You have to, that's how you can shame them. By threatening their re-election chances. Hit them in the wallet? Well, I mean, if they get, since they get a lot of donations from corporations, that's not going to work either. So there's that. Again, there's not a lot of options here, y'all. And that is sort of the problem. Okay, let's move on. We've got a lot more to get through here. All right. The New York Attorney General's investigation into the allegations against Democratic Governor Andrew Cuomo it has completed. And I'm going to go to Letitia James here, who's going to explain it, what they found. Take a look.
The independent investigation has concluded that Governor Andrew Cuomo sexually harassed multiple women, and in doing so violated federal and state law. Specifically, the investigation found that Governor Andrew Cuomo sexually harassed current and former New York State employees by engaging in unwelcome and non-consensual touching and making numerous offensive comments of a suggestive and sexual nature that created a hostile work environment for women. The investigators independently corroborated and substantiated these facts through interviews and evidence, including contemporaneous notes and communications.
All right, so there it is. That's Letitia James. And so now Cuomo, of course, has denied these allegations, but released a statement in February acknowledging that some of his workplace remarks may have been insensitive and too personal. The statement also said he was truly sorry to those who might have misinterpreted the remarks as an unwanted flirtation. I've got more quotes here, including a video from Cuomo. But now the allegations, I want to give you more context here. The allegations against Cuomo ramped up earlier this year when in February, a former aide took her account of an uncomfortable interactions with the governor to the New York Times. That aide, Charlotte Bennett, alleged that Cuomo had asked her questions about her sex life during a June 2020 conversation in his office in the state capitol. She told the newspaper that she interpreted Cuomo's statements to be clear overtures of a sexual relationship. Another aide, Lindsay Boylan, came forward with allegations against Cuomo of her own, claiming that in a February Medium post that he had engaged in inappropriate gestures, including an unwanted kiss. And so, look, this is really bad. It's not good. We kind of figured that the results of this investigation would end up being this. And I really think that if Cuomo doesn't step down, he should be removed. I think this is utterly unacceptable for a politician to do. And now, before, of course, some of you say, but Trump, I understand that comparing us to the Republicans is a super low bar. Donald Trump is an alleged rapist. Yes, I do believe in the allegations against him. But on the Republican side, understand that the Republican Party loves sexual harassment. That's why they voted for him. That's one reason they love Donald Trump. We have two completely different value systems here. We're not like them. We're actually supposed to be better. However, Andrew Cuomo, as I'm going to show you, he's not better. First, I'm going to give you a tweet here from a statement and then show you the video of a follow-up here of him explaining himself. But here's that tweet. He said, quote, "The facts are much different than what has been portrayed," Cuomo says. "I never touched anybody inappropriately or made inappropriate sexual advances." But then later on, he actually went on to release this video explaining himself.
Indeed, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of photos of me using the exact same gesture. I do it with everyone. Friends, strangers, people who I meet on the street. After the event, the woman told the press that she took offense at the gesture. And for that, I apologize. Another woman stated that I kissed her on the forehead at our Christmas party and that I said, "Ciao, Bella." Now, I don't remember doing it, but I'm sure that I did. I do kiss people on the forehead. I do kiss people on the cheek. I do kiss people on the hand. I do embrace people. I do hug people, men and women. On occasion, I do slip and say sweetheart or darling or honey. I do banter with people. I do tell jokes, some better than others. I now understand that there are generational or cultural perspectives that frankly I hadn't fully appreciated. And I have learned from this.
Oh, so all the stuff that I was doing beforehand, I mean, I didn't understand that it was wrong. But I understand now though. Okay, but it was wrong before. And the thing is, like, you do all this stuff, like, his excuse is, well, I'm just being friendly, and, these are warm embraces and it's meant to foster friendship, and I do it with men too, and women, just as those 11 women, what he did with them, and what kind of questions he was asking, and what kind of things that he was doing. I can guarantee you the differences with things that he did allegedly with women versus those with men, pretty big difference. And also the big thing about that as well is, did you ask consent when you did that stuff? When you did the touching, right? Touching somebody on the shoulder. They might be a little uncomfortable if you just randomly come up and start touching them or kissing them on the forehead. So maybe you shouldn't do those things and automatically believe that everybody's going to be comfortable with it. And of course, who's going to tell you that they're not comfortable with that if you're in a position of power? And so that's a big problem. And so the excuse, of course, was, well, I've always done that. And I didn't realize that it was bad. You didn't realize that people have personal boundaries. I don't know about that one. And so now I feel like this is sort of a Trump defense when you think about it. Like, I didn't do anything wrong. There was nothing appropriate. I've always been doing it. But like, it's, I guess it's not as openly bad of a defense, but it's still a pretty bad defense. Saying, oh, well, I've always done this, and I didn't realize it was bad. I'm sorry. All right, well, here's the thing. So now, I'm going to get into more detail here. So this has been roiling the administration for some time, this investigation. I did a little digging and I found out that there was a high-ranking lawyer in Cuomo's office that had resigned earlier as a result of the allegations and his response to the allegations. This was actually back in March. It was a letter written by Laura Edidin, who had served as chief special counsel for ethics, risk, and compliance in Governor Cuomo's office. In her resignation letter, she wrote that the harassment accusations in Cuomo's public response had created an intolerable dissonance for me between continuing to serve in the governor's office and my life's work advocating on behalf of survivors. The March 5th letter, obtained through the open records request, was addressed to Cuomo's special counsel Judith Mogul, who herself is also leaving Cuomo's office this week. And I didn't know this before. This is fascinating. There are reports that the program serves to suppress negative information about the governor, including by flagging problematic Freedom of Information law requests filed at state agencies, which then notify Cuomo's office. So if you're looking into information about Cuomo, for example, the nursing home deaths tied to COVID, and his disastrous initial response to coronavirus popping up in New York, well, then if you try to get a Freedom of Information Act request, that goes to Cuomo's office, and he goes into damage control. And we also find out that his brother, Chris Cuomo, had also advised Governor Cuomo on this. And so that's also a conflict of interest when it comes to the media. The administration often drags out those requests, by the way, for months or years. So there's the report from Letitia James, the Attorney General. There's the resignations. There's Cuomo's disastrous response, as I showed you. And of course, the refusal to step down. And I think he's not stepping down, and he's not going to step down because he believes that he can get away with it. There have been allegations against powerful men before. Both Democrats and Republicans. It shouldn't actually matter what party that they're in. Sexual harassment is, especially it's just bad. In the workplace, it's bad. Everywhere, it's bad. I don't think I should have to qualify that. It's just bad. Okay? And so this has happened, as I said before, in the workplace, in politics especially, with high-powered individuals. Somebody that has power, essentially, like a governor of a major city. That's one reason why people don't come out. And that's one way, of course, that people are able to get away with this. Again, I mentioned Trump. He literally went out to become president, even after him, sexually harassing a woman on a bus with that tape that we all heard. You have Brett Kavanaugh, of course, those allegations against Joe Biden, even none of them got in any sort of trouble. In fact, they went on to become presidents or Supreme Court nominees into positions of power. And I do believe the victims in these cases, powerful old men overall, continue to get away with doing this. And so I don't think Cuomo is going to suffer any consequences. I'd be very, very surprised if it does actually happen. I know he's not going to step down. Cuomo's the kind of person that's not going to admit defeat. Again, kind of Trumpian in that regard. And so I don't know where this goes. I don't know how the media is going to handle it. And I mean, the punditry, if people are going to come out to defend him in mainstream media, I don't really know. We're going to have to see. But for me, for my opinion, the guy's got to go. He's got to go. This is unacceptable. All right. Let's move on to Mike Pillow. Something a little bit more light. MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell is once again moving the goalposts on his Trump reinstatement fantasy, as of course QAnoners get kind of restless. Lindell previously said that Trump's reinstatement, of course, would happen August 13th. Well, that's 10 days from now. And it would follow a symposium where it would be revealed that Trump had in fact won the election, and it was China all along, those dastardly Chinese people in the communist Chinese government going and mucking up with our elections. Yep, that's what it is. Bamboo ballots and all. Ridiculous. However, unsurprisingly on Monday, Lindell talked to the Daily Beast and said that it could be September or perhaps even later before Donald Trump is reinstated based on these false claims of election fraud. So immediately moving the goalposts. Interesting. He said this, quote, "We'll be bringing our findings to the Supreme Court in late August or early September, sometime after the cyber symposium ends and it proves it was an attack by China. When I gave my prediction about August, and that was several months ago, that was an estimate at the time, but it took so long to get the symposium set up. However long it takes for the Supreme Court to take it up and decide on this, I can't predict that. I'm not the Supreme Court." I'm not the Supreme Court. Well, I mean, that's the first true thing he's ever said. Come on, man. Here we go again. Another terrible prophecy brought to you by the one and only Mike Pillow. Now, look, we all on this show, we know he's full of shit. Of course. But what about QAnon? Well, QAnon, also unsurprisingly, full of shit. But it turns out that they are getting along just fine by coming up with new conspiracies, including that Trump's reinstatement will coincide with an upcoming test of the nation's emergency alert system. Hey, alert, alert, Donald Trump's your president. When the former president could announce mass arrests of Democrats. Oh, they would love nothing more than to arrest their own political opponents. Please, tell me who the fascists really are. Come on. Others have pointed to the rise of COVID-19 Delta variant as a sign that Democrats are planning mid-August lockdowns. The Biden administration has said, no lockdowns. Dr. Fauci has said, no lockdowns. But they're saying that, the lockdowns will distract from the voter fraud. While still others say vaccine mandates for military service members will inspire a revolt by the armed forces, which again is not going to happen. Oh, I like that. Copium Symposium. Oh, I love that. Thank you, Monty Darno, for that. I have the best audience in the world. You realize the people that the Delta variant is killing is people most likely to believe in this crap, right? The QAnon supporters, they're like, I'm not taking the vaccine. Well, okay, you're not taking the vaccine. You're the ones dying. Way to own yourselves. This isn't owning of the libs. This is literally owning themselves. It's being an anti-vaxxer is letting your own side get ravaged by this virus. That's what that means. Insane. Insane. One more conspiracy. This comes from QAnon influencer Ron Watkins, who claimed on Monday that a whistleblower will release manuals for the voting machines made by Dominion, and this will lead to the election being overturned. There is just, of course, one little problem with that. It turns out that those manuals are already public. You can go and look at them yourself. Therefore, that conspiracy, poof, gone. So now, the problem here, it's fun to laugh at the insanity, but that article mentions possible violence. And that's, of course, that's because QAnoners are actually starting to catch on that their influencers and leaders, so-called thought leaders, right? They haven't delivered on anything that they've said. The hogs are getting restless. One wrote, quote, "Let's eat some shit because we're all tired of waiting and trusting." Oh, they're so close. They're so close. If they could only realize that they're being taken for a ride and that Trump and Watkins and Mike Pillow, they're full of shit and or crack, or they don't have anything. They've got nothing. They've got nothing. Unfortunately, that realization could instead lead to violence as they not only turn on their leaders, but turn on everyone else. In fact, the Department of Homeland Security had warned that QAnoners might be ready to do more violence. Oh, great. And so, obviously, the warnings, bad, violence, bad. Also, using that as justification to beef up the security state, also bad. So, that's wonderful. So, that's like a triple whammy. Disastrous. No, we don't want them getting violent. Because again, that's going to be used as an excuse to beef up the security and surveillance states to give more money to police, etc. We really don't want to do that. That's not good. And so the Daily Beast then cites a study here by the Global Network on Extremism and Technology. Quote, "Perhaps the largest concern arising from these failed predictions is that QAnon supporters are beginning to feel led to take matters into their own hands, after seeing that they cannot expect political or military leaders to implement their vision," the study authors wrote. In this case, the failed predictions of the past may well spur some QAnon supporters to take direct action and fuel a new, more dangerous stage in the development of the movement. Meaning we could end up seeing, and I hope not, but we could end up seeing more people like the guy at Comet Pizza, for example, who busted in with a gun, thought he was saving the children. There were no children. There was no basement. There was no place for the children to be tied up in. And yet, this guy busted in, convinced that he was right, that he was doing the right thing, and nearly got people killed. Thankfully, he did not. But what about next time? That some lunatic picks up an easily accessible weapon and thinks he's going to go save the children. And so here's the thing. This is the biggest tragedy of the entire QAnon nonsense. They think they're the heroes of the story. I mean, they're filled with so much lies and propaganda that they have been duped into believing that they're the heroes. In reality, of course, they're the villains. But they've been taught this by, again, conservative media, the pervasive spread of conspiracy theories, that some randos came up with online in order to get clicks and views on YouTube. And that's really, again, the saddest thing that I've ever seen. It's sad and, of course, dangerous. Ugh. All right. One more here. We're going to talk about Blizzard, Activision Blizzard. So, more disaster, as always. It appears that after weeks of pressure, the president of Blizzard Entertainment Studio is stepping down. So this follows a week after workers had staged a walkout over the allegations of harassment and discrimination, and the company's pretty terrible response to it. According to the New York Times, Activision Blizzard has been under intense pressure over the last couple of weeks following a lawsuit filed on July 20th, in which California had accused the company of fostering a frat boy workplace culture, in which men, of course, joked about things like sexual assault, and that women were routinely harassed and paid less than their male colleagues. I remember, of course, talking about the cubicle crawl, where men would just get absolutely drunk and, delegate, of course, their jobs to the female employees while they go and crawl around cubicle to cubicle saying terrible things to their female colleagues. Disastrous. So now, the departing executive, J. Allen Brack, according to the Times, will be replaced by two Blizzard executives, Jen O'Neill and Mike Ibarra, who will both be co-leaders of the studio, the company said in a statement. Now, again, this only applies to the Blizzard Entertainment Studio. The current CEO of Activision Blizzard is still there. I'm going to get to him in a minute. Ms. O'Neill, give you some context here, started at Blizzard in January as Executive Vice President of Development. Mr. Ibarra joined in 2019 as the Executive Vice President and General Manager of Platform and Technology. Activision apologized last week for its reaction to the outcry from its workers, calling its initial response tone deaf. Quote, "It is imperative that we acknowledge all perspectives and experiences and respect the feelings of those who have been mistreated in any way," the Activision Blizzard chief executive, Bobby Kotick, said in a statement on July 27th. "I'm sorry that we did not provide the right empathy and understanding." So now, here's the thing about J. Allen Brack. There's no way that he wasn't pressured to step down. Why? Well, I can point to one thing. Blizzard's stock price. Activision Blizzard shares fell more than 7% in the Tuesday following the lawsuit. But to be fair, of course, it's been bad for quite some time. While World of Warcraft, for example, their flagship game, is actually losing a lot of subscriptions. A lot of players are very angry with the company as a result of some of the lackluster expansions, Battle for Azeroth, and of course Shadowlands. Those expansions not received very well. And of course, they completely messed up the entire storyline of World of Warcraft. Nobody knows what's happening now. Nobody. You also had the famous Diablo Immortal fiasco back in 2018 when their stock really started to fall. You remember that, right? Do you guys not have phones? Any gamers remember? And so, again, since that year, since 2018, Activision Blizzard has lost 35% of its share price. That is a disaster. Add on to that the disastrous response to the allegations, which again, I remind you, were pretty disgusting. But it gets worse. It turns out back in March, Activision Blizzard had hired a former George W. Bush counterterrorism appointee, Frances F. Townsend, as their head of compliance. So now, she had some words in this lawsuit. She called it truly meritless and irresponsible. She later tweeted about the problem with whistleblowing, a story published in The Atlantic back in July. Townsend had also reportedly began blocking current employees from speaking out against her. So now, you're not going to be surprised who Townsend is. She is actually known to have defended, during her stint in the Bush administration, the torture program, which included waterboarding, sleep deprivation, and forced nudity. And so, oh, wow, the problem with whistleblowers. Oh, gee, Francis Townsend being against whistleblowers. Shocker. Really. Shocker. Disaster. In fact, here's what she said about the torture program back in the 2009 interview with CNN. Regardless of what you think of the issue of whether or not waterboarding is torture, there were legal documents created and relied upon by career intelligence officials who then implemented that program. So she is a torture defender. Great. Great hire. Getting back to Bobby Kotick here, who made almost $128 million in bonuses over the past 4 years, called Townsend a, quote, highly regarded public servant. So that's current CEO Bobby Kotick. Not only that, we're not done with Blizzard. Kotick also recently retained the services of a prestigious law firm, Wilmer Hale, which is the same law firm helping Amazon keeping its workers from unionizing. So, sure, Bobby Kotick, you've got a record of hiring both war criminals and union busters. Congratulations. Well done. But yeah, let's put Brack out. Let's just push them out, right? So now here's the thing. Brack deserves to go, of course. A lot of this happened under his watch. I mean, to be fair, he did take over in 2019, but he knew that this was going on. He didn't change the culture. He didn't actually do anything. He was actually mentioned in this lawsuit, which alleges that Brack knew about the behavior because he had received direct complaints and that he did little to stop it beyond disciplinary actions that amounted to about a slap on the wrist. So he did nothing. Nothing. So Brack is gone, likely pressured again, but Kotick still there, and understand that a lot of the people who are still there, a lot of the leadership knew about the harassment and did absolutely nothing. Again, one of the allegations involved leadership having something called a Cosby room, where a lot of this happened. And the fact that they retained Wilmer Hale is not a good sign that they actually plan to do something meaningful to change the culture. It looks as though they're going to try to crush employee dissent and attempts by employees who may be trying to unionize while saying, oh no, sacrificial lamb, we got rid of this guy. That was a big problem. So understand that's what this is about. Brack is a patsy. He's a fall guy, if you will. So the company can say, look, we solved the problem. We got rid of this guy. Please don't unionize. Everything's under control. Get back to work, and players keep buying our stuff. Well, I, for one, look, I'm a gamer. I would love to buy the Diablo 2 remaster, Diablo 4, but I can't. I can't do that. Not without major changes to the company. It's time we vote with our wallets, okay? The fish rots from the head down, and right now, Activision Blizzard is deeply, deeply rotten. Deeply rotten. Why do you think a lot of the original developers left the company? The entire industry itself, by the way, is deeply toxic, misogynistic, and not at all labor-friendly. In fact, they hate labor, and they love crushing their workers, their employees. Again, you've got Ubisoft, who is the head of Ubisoft, I believe, has also been hit with allegations. Riot Games hit with allegations of the same kind of vein of this frat boy culture. A lot of these, these Silicon Valley companies, gaming companies, have been dealing with the same problems of misogyny, sexism, rampant toxicity, and not just their rooms, but also among the player base as well. And so this is a disaster. And we could go back to talking about BioWare Magic as well, so-called, where they crush their employees. Now, look, this has to change, not just for the workers, of course, but also for the quality of the games. Look, again, if you're a gamer like myself, you might have noticed the quality of the games being pushed out have been, let's just say, below par. Okay? They haven't been good. They've been bad. Disastrous. And, of course, you've got publishers with insane deadlines, again, leading to a lot of crunch. But, again, you also have these developers with this toxic culture. It's terrible. You have to have good working conditions. Good working conditions actually, create a happy workforce, and a happy workforce ends up creating better games, better products. You have to change that culture. And of course, you've got to have communication between developers and the audiences as well. But until the games industry fixes a lot of these issues, we should not buy their products. We should not buy their games. We should not, allow them. We should vote for our wallets. Yes, we should not allow them to continue to do these practices now that we know about them. That's all I have to say. All right. That's all I got today. Let me go and check to see if there's any no super chats or anything today. Man, that must have been a crappy show. Apologies. But I felt like these were important stories. I know, not as fun, I guess, as my usual stories are. But, you do what you got to do. All right. Anyway, yes, boycotts, strikes as well. Vote for you. Well, Cyberpunk was half done on. I know. I look. Cyberpunk. Oh my God, disastrous. And I didn't even buy the console version. I still can't get around to playing it. And again, with my with my issues of staying focused, like I don't know. It's one of those things. I couldn't stay focused enough or engaged enough to finish that. Disaster. You know what? I'm really, really sorry. I didn't mean to guilt you into donating. Don't do that. Don't do that. No. I'm sorry. I did not mean to guilt you all. I know it was good. I'm self-deprecating, y'all. I'm self-deprecating. It's my humor. I'm playing Cyberpunk. It's actually not bad, though there are a few glitches still. Yeah, look, they've put a lot of work into it, but still, I just can't seem to get myself back into it. So, I have an issue with that. All right. Oh, wow. Oh, what's this? Breaking news from the Washington Post. Biden calls on Cuomo to resign following sexual harassment investigation. Oh, fascinating. Oh, that's interesting. That's really interesting. I'm assuming macaroon granola, that is the big news. There's a lot of big news that's breaking right now. So I'm trying to figure out, all right, so we got NCAA Pro finds systemic gender inequities and recommends a combined basketball Final Four. That's not it. There's all sorts of stuff. So, yeah. Let's see. Well, there you go. Biden just did a press conference too. Yeah, see. That is breaking news. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. We'll see what happens. I mean, that's a lot of pressure now. All right, anyway. I'm going to go. Oh, thank you, Kathleen, for cheering 100 bits. I do appreciate that. Also, thank you, Breeze, Not a Crappy Show. Great show, but we struggled. Don't give anything that you can't, please. Don't make me feel guilty, because then I'm going to feel guilty. So don't do that. But thank you all. Gabby Mathis, Rachado Sissy Boy, and Weary Pirates, thank you. See, damn it. I didn't mean to guilt you into it. Damn it. Now I'm going to have to give it back. All right. So will Biden step down too? Very unlikely. Very unlikely. But we all know that. Let's see. Cuomo will officially become a Republican, may even run for president. It's not like Cuomo hasn't helped Republicans. You know he has. He was the one that's the Democratic Leadership Council, I believe, in New York, that was there to stop progressive Democrats from actually getting things done, even though they have a majority in their Congress. Yeah. So there's that. Disastrous. All right. Anyway, thank you all. I do appreciate you. I love you guys. We're going to be back tomorrow, of course. Nina Turner. Nina Turner going to win. I hope so. Cross your fingers. We'll talk about it later on. Tomorrow. Please like and share the stream on the way out if you haven't already. Very important. Helps us out greatly, again. And that's it. Love you all. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. We'll see you all later.
Oh, man, I'm sorry.
Tighten up my knee. I like my knee tight.
Mike Pounds.
Dumps. Big, massive dumps.
Give me a break. Please clap. They're kicking me out the door. They're kicking me out the door.